Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Grade 9 Subject Choice Information video. As a school, we have compiled this video to try and assist you with your daughter's decision on what subject she will take in the FET phase. I hope that you find it informative, but please do feel free to contact your daughter's tutor should you have any questions. There are a number of items on our agenda today. First, we'll be looking at the assessments and promotion requirements for Grade 9. Then the subjects available at Springs Girls High School, the promotion criteria in Grade 10, changing of subjects, mathematics and mathematical literacy, how to choose subjects, the entrance requirements for higher learning institutions, and then we will have a presentation by Renette van die Kerk, which will help you interpret your daughter's psychometric test results. Finally, we will have a short clip from each of the grade 10 subject teachers who about his or her subject. And the aim of these videos is to try and help you understand the subjects and make the best choice possible. Right. Firstly, the grade 9 promotion requirements are as follows. Your daughter needs to achieve 50% in the language taught at a home language level. At Springs Girls High School, this is English. She needs to attain 40% for the language taught at first additional language level. For us, that's Afrikaans. She needs 40% in mathematics, 40% in 3 other subjects, 30% in 2 subjects, and then she may fail 1 subject. That is to say, she gets less than 30% for that subject. We have several FET subjects available at Girls High. First, there are compulsory subjects. So your daughter will be required to take English at a home language level, Afrikaans at a first additional language level, life orientation, and then she will make the choice between mathematics and mathematical literacy. In terms of her choice subjects, your daughter will be able to choose 3 of the following subjects: accounting, business studies, computer applications technology, consumer studies, economics, geography, history, life science, physical science, tourism or visual arts. Please be aware that computer applications technology, tourism, and sometimes consumer studies are not considered by tertiary institutions when you are calculating your APS score, that is your application point score. Please make sure that the institution of your choosing does accept these subjects if you wish to take them, or that your course will not require you to have all 7 subjects. It is possible to change subjects at a later stage if you make the wrong choice in grade 9, but this is limited. So in grade 10, you may change 2 subjects, and in grade 11, you may change 2 subjects if you need to. But for grade 12, only 1 subject may be changed. It must be changed at the end of the grade 11 year, and permission must be obtained from the district director in order to change a subject at this stage. This is because it's incredibly difficult for the girls to catch up all of the work which they have missed in that subject in grades 10 and 11. Please be aware that if your daughter chooses to change subjects, either in grade 10, 11, or 12, it becomes her responsibility to catch up the work which she has missed in this subject. The decision between mathematics and mathematical literacy, I think, is often a very difficult one for parents and for learners. So I'd like to give you some guidance on that. Firstly, if you are achieving less than 50% for mathematics in grade 9, it's recommended that you take maths literacy in grade 10. This is because the grade 10 syllabus is incredibly compacted and there is a lot of work that needs to be done. If your daughter is struggling with mathematics at this stage, it is likely that she will have a very difficult time of it in grade 10. And the FET phase, really, it takes a lot of work to achieve in these subjects. She has to be willing to do that work in order to take mathematics. Please be aware that mathematical literacy is not the same as standard grade mathematics. It is a subject on its own, and it deals with the kind of mathematical problems that a learner may experience in her adult life. Things like sorting out your taxes or working out how much money is to be repaid on a loan, that sort of thing. But there'll be more details about that in the maths literacy video later on in the presentation. It is possible to study at a university if you've taken maths literacy. There are many courses In many faculties which do accept maths literacy as an option, you can have a look at the arts, commerce, education, humanities, and law faculties to see courses which will allow you to take mathematical literacy. Please be aware that in order to take physical science or accounting, you will need mathematics rather than mathematical literacy. When you are choosing your subjects, please consider what higher education institutions require in terms of the subjects and the results obtained for those subjects to gain entry. It is not simply enough to check which subjects are needed. You must also consider your daughter's aptitude for that subject. It doesn't help to choose subjects like mathematics, physical science, if your daughter is going to achieve very poorly in these subjects. She'd be better served choosing subjects in which she's quite strong so that her final APS score is high. Subjects may not be changed from the beginning of grade 12 without written permission from the district director, so please do keep that in mind, as I mentioned earlier. Please remember that university is not the only option. You can also consider colleges, TVET colleges, and other higher learning institutions such as technical universities, which offer a variety of courses. We are going to have a look at how to fill in the subject choice forms in a moment, so let's have a look at that. Each of your daughters has been given a subject choice form with place for 2 options in terms of subject combinations. Please fill in both of these options and be aware that at least one subject in each must differ. The form must be returned to your daughter's register teacher by the 17th of September. Please ensure that these forms are filled in correctly and in full. They are how we determine our timetable for next year and how we determine your daughter's subject choice. Let's have a look at the entrance requirements at higher learning institutions. It is important that you understand these requirements moving forward, because your daughter's results will determine what options she has at the end of matric. Our first option is a higher certificate entrance, and the requirements here are to study at a technical and vocational education and training college, or a TVET college. And in order to do that, you need the following. You need a national senior certificate or a grade 9 certificate. So what this is the certificate you can receive at the end of grade 9 if you choose to leave standard high school at this point and go to a college. Please be aware that in order to obtain the certificate, your daughter needs to pass grade 9. She cannot be progressed in order to achieve the certificate. And some courses at TVET colleges may require certain subjects or level of achievements within those subjects. So please check with your higher education institution on that. The second option is that your daughter receives a diploma pass or a diploma entrance to a University of Technology. In order to study here, you will need a national senior certificate with at least 4 subjects above 40%. And again, some courses may require certain subjects or levels of achievement within those subjects. Finally, we have the bachelor's degree pass. And in order to study at a university, you need to obtain a national senior certificate with 4 subjects above 50%. Please be aware that CAT and tourism and sometimes consumer studies do not qualify as one of the 4 subjects. So please check with the university of your choice just to get this information. And again, some courses may require certain subjects or level of achievement. So just please do consult with the higher education institutions. Most of this information can be found easily online on the university's websites.
Hello grade 9 girls and grade 9 parents. I'm Renette van Niekerk and I'm the psychometrist who did the psychometric assessment and reports earlier this year. I hope that your results will help you to make an informed decision about your grade 10 subjects. Remember that I sat with the results of only these assessments, written on a specific day in your life, in specific circumstances, and then I had to make recommendations. I do not have your academic history at hand to influence my decisions, and I have no idea how you usually perform in your mathematics, for instance. Maybe you felt sick on the day I came to test you, or sad or worried, and this would have affected the results. So before you make a final decision, you have to look at your current performance in school, talk to your teacher, and compare your aptitude results with that information. Okay, so we are first going to have a look at your aptitude results. It was the differential aptitude test, and this is just how to interpret your DAT profile. Now the first thing that you must know there is that the result that you get there is a mark out of 9. They call it the Steyn 9, and if you have a 9 out of 9 there, it's obviously a very high aptitude. High would be considered 7 and an 8, average would be a 5 or a 6, low aptitude is a 3 or a 4, and very low aptitude on a specific test is a 1 or a 2. Then you will also find subject fields, recommendations with examples of specific subjects that you can consider, and then also a graph with your after school or your tertiary study fields with examples of careers. And on the fourth graph that you will find is your academic aptitude, which we computate as follows. It's test 2, your verbal reasoning, plus your test 4, calculations, plus test 5, reading comprehension, plus test 9, memory. And if the average of those are lower than 5, it might be difficult for you to perform well in the higher grades and you will have to work hard. But remember, aptitudes can improve with hard work and study method training. And things such as your vocabulary, your reading comprehension and your memory can all improve with more reading. So if you look at the addendum at the end of your report, on the second page you will find your differential aptitude test results, and there you will see how you did on the 9 different sub-tests that you did on the aptitude test. Okay girls, so this is how I look at your aptitude results. In the first place, I have a look at your non-verbal reasoning and your computations, because the result of those 2 sub-tests together give me an indication of your maths ability. And once again, it's the result of a test that you wrote on a specific day, and many things could have had an influence on that. So you have to compare it with your normal performance in school. But if you had a mark lower than 5 for those 2, I would have recommended maths literacy and not full maths. Then I also look at a combination of your vocabulary, verbal reasoning, reading comprehension and memory results, because those who did well in those subtests are usually the girls who like language and like reading, whereas the ones who do poorly in those tests usually do not love reading and should read more in order to improve those marks. Then I have a look at your clerical ability, where I look at verbal reasoning, computations and comparisons. The comparisons test, you will remember, is that one where you only had 4 minutes to compare things with one another. And then your technical ability is calculated with your spatial visualization result and your mechanical insight result. Now there's something that I want to say about mathematics at this point. If your maths is a disaster at this point in the game, you have one of 2 choices. You are either going to write your big dreams of being an engineer or a vet or a NASA astronaut or brain surgeon on your tummy and wipe it off with your t-shirt, or you are going to have to pull your finger out of your ear and start working on your maths. Remember, maths is not only a study subject, it's a do and exercise everyday subject. It's like cycling. The more you do it, the better you get at it, until you can wheelie around the block on your rear wheel. Something I notice every year with the calculations: those who did well did a lot of rough work calculations on the paper that I provided. And those who did poorly did not even try to make calculations on their rough work paper. They surrendered without even trying. And I suspect that in many cases we are faced with a lack of motivation rather than a lack of ability here. Girls, in this life you get nothing for free. And if you want to achieve something, you have to work for it. So how will reading help you? In the first place, I want to tell you girls, remember that WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook is not reading. You have to read good quality books or good quality magazines on a regular basis to improve your English. And reading will also help you with mental stimulation. It will reduce your stress. You will have a wider knowledge about different subjects. Your vocabulary will be better. Your memory will improve. You will have stronger analytical thinking skills, and you will also focus and concentrate better. And you will see an improvement in your essay writing because your grammar and your vocabulary and everything will be better. Most of the girls here speak English as a second or a third language. And even though they are pretty good at it, it's not good enough to be able to help yourself around in English. If you want to succeed in matric and to study further after matric, you need to practice your English. And the only way you can do it is to listen to good English and to read good English books and magazines. You know, I have, for instance, medically speaking, have everything physically needed to run the Comrades Marathon next year. 2 healthy legs, healthy heart and lungs, 10 toes, strong muscles. But trust me, if I do not start exercising, I'm not going to make it. Because potential ability does not promise achievement. Only hard work, perseverance and motivation will get you there. So on your addendum A, underneath your DAT results, you will also get a graph that says subject fields, which will indicate to you in which subject fields you do better. And there are also examples of the subjects in those fields. The next graph will be your tertiary study fields, and there you will also find examples of the different types of careers that you can follow in each of the study fields. The final graph underneath your DAT results will be academic aptitudes, and I want you to look specifically at the first bar there that says academic aptitude. That is the one where I said earlier, if that result is lower than 5, you will probably have to work hard in your higher grades to achieve. On the very first page of your addendum A, you will get your results on your SAVI profile. Now the SAVI stands for the South African Vocational Interest Inventory, and this profile only shows you the career fields in which you indicated interest when you completed the questionnaire. So a well differentiated profile will be one that shows very definite peaks, 1 or 2 peaks in interest in a certain field or 2, and the girls with those types of profiles will usually find it more easy to make a choice, and they will be more satisfied with the choice they made. If there's a low flat profile, it means you showed little interest in a few fields, and this might indicate that you need a little bit more exposure to the possibilities out there and could benefit from reading up a little bit more about different career fields to try and get your feeling about what you would like better. And then a high flat profile is one of those where you are interested in absolutely everything, and the problem with that might be that you can find it difficult to make a choice between all those things that you are interested in, and that you might not be satisfied with your choice in the end, because there were so many other things that you were interested in as well. Now, on the last page of your addendum, you will find the pie charts with your results on the JPQ profile. That is the Jung Personality Questionnaire. And remember, your results here is not your identity. It just shows what you are like more times than not. It shows you tendencies in your personality, but not absolute types. Now, firstly, the JPQ shows me whether you are more of an extrovert or more of an introvert. Introvert or extrovert shows you how you recharge and interact with other people. So it's about dealings in the world outside ourselves and the world inside ourselves. And in which world do you live more often? Which world gives you energy or charges your battery, and which one drains your energy? So typically an extrovert will, after a long week of hard work, go and party because they charge their batteries by interacting with other people. Whereas an introvert will rather, after a long week, go and be by themselves with a book or something like that, because people drain an introvert's energy, and only after they recharge themselves alone with me time, they are able to interact with other people again. So if you have a look there at the pie chart, the extrovert will find energy in things and people. They like interacting with people, they are action orientated, and their motto is ready, steady, go. Whereas the introverts find their energy in ideas, concepts and abstractions. They can be social, but they need me time to recharge. They try to understand life, and their motto is often ready, steady, steady, but they kind of find it difficult to go. The second thing the JPQ indicates is whether you are more of a thinker or more of a feeler. Thinking or feeling has to do with how you make your decisions. We all use both modes, thinking and feeling, when we make decisions, but we tend to trust one mode more than the other. So, your thinker will value fairness, and their decisions are mostly based on analysis, logic and principles. A thinker, for example, will buy something because she needs it. She thought about this and she needs it. Whereas your feeler values harmony between people. They would avoid hurting someone's feelings. And your typical feeler will buy something because she likes it. The third thing that the JPQ shows me is if you are somebody who goes more with your intuition, or if you are more of an observer. They also call the second one sensing. Intuition observation is about how you see the world. It is about how we gather information from the world, because some people rely on their five senses, those are the observers, and others rely on a sort of sixth sense. So those of you who are higher in intuition will trust your own gut feelings without facts being present. You will seek patterns and relationships among the facts. You will trust your hunches, and you look for the big picture and focus on how things can be. Whereas the observers between you will be seeking concrete, practical data to work with. You will be detail orientated. You will trust only facts, and you tend to focus on the reality of things. And then finally, the Jung Personality Questionnaire shows me whether you are more of a judge or more of a perceiver. Judging or perceiving is about your attitude towards the world. So, This is about how we live our lives on a day-to-day basis. And remember, all people use both modes, but we tend to feel more comfortable with the one than the other. So those of you who are higher in perception will be curious, flexible, spontaneous. Deadlines are meant to be stretched. So the perceivers between you are procrastinators. And you can find it difficult to finish a task. Perceivers also like things open-ended, whereas the little judges between us want things neat, orderly and established. They find deadlines sacred. They are very good planners and they want things settled in the end. Now, if you give an assignment to a judge and a perceiver, the judge will probably start planning for the deadline. He will plan certain milestones and mini deadlines. By this date I should have done my planning, and by that date I should have written the first draft and then my second draft on that date, and they stay on track and they finish in time for the deadline. Whereas the poor perceiver will in the first place start off by procrastinating, and by the time the judge is already busy with his first draft, the perceiver will think, perhaps I should start thinking about this thing, and a little bit later he will think, I better do something now, and in the end he rushes through it and more or less crash lands into the deadline. Now you can decide, does that sound familiar to you or not? So how do you choose your subjects? Grade 9s, do not choose a subject because your friend chose it. Remember, she has different abilities, a different personality, different dreams for her future than you. Do not choose a subject because you like the teacher or because you heard there's not much homework in that specific subject. Do choose a subject that will open doors for your future, that will help you to chase your dream and that you are interested in and motivated to do well in. And then grade 9 parents, please help your child. Be involved and interested in the choice that they make. Help them to do research about career possibilities and requirements for university and so on. But please do not choose a subject for your child. She is the one who must study those subjects for the next 3 years, and she will do better in them if she wanted to take them. Now, just to refresh your memory on how the admission point score works for selection at university or college, you take your achievement marks. That's the mark 1 to 7 that you get for the different percentages that you get for your subjects, and you add them to get your APS. But remember, life orientation is not taken into consideration in your APS score. And then we have the so-called gateway subjects, physical science and mathematics, because many of the university fields require mathematics and physical science. So if you are able to keep those subjects and you still feel uncertain about what you want to do after school, those are good subjects to have because they open doors for you. But if you battle with your maths at the moment, but you want to take mathematics, then I would recommend that you do not take them with other maths related subjects such as accounting or physical science, but rather then take it with subjects that you find a little bit easier or that you are interested in which you can perform well in order to improve your APS. Because remember, it does not help to have the correct gateway subjects, but you do so poorly in maths and physical science in the end that you could just as well have taken other subjects in which you could have done better and got a higher APS score. So girls, in a nutshell, that is everything that you need to know about your reports that you got. and I wish you all the best for your choices that you make now and for the rest of your school careers, and I hope that everything works out wonderfully for you. Thank you again for the opportunity to work with you this year. It was, like always, a privilege to work at Spring Skills High. Goodbye.
Greetings, ladies. In this presentation, I am going to talk to you about mathematics. Mathematics as a subject deals with abstract concepts. It encourages logical reasoning, critical thinking, whereas on the other hand, mathematical literacy deals with more practical concepts. Learners that do mathematics, they write 2 papers in grade 12, paper 1 and paper 2. Each paper consists of 150 marks. I have made a list of topics that are found in each of the papers. Learners that are going to choose mathematics need to make sure they make a realistic choice. Mathematics is doable, however, like any other subject, it requires high levels of discipline. It requires commitment and responsibility towards your work. Many times learners have to put in extra work in terms of attending intervention classes that we do offer at school for free. And some learners even go on to get extra tuition, extra afternoon classes to supplement the work that they do at school for them to be able to attain good marks. It is recommended that learners that choose to do mathematics in FET attain at least 50% in grade 9, as the work tends to get more challenging with each grade. Mathematics has a potential of opening up a wide range of career opportunities. And in as much as the FET pass mark is 30% at school level, this is far below the minimum requirement for tertiary programs that require mathematics. Mostly they range from 60 going up. So a mere pass, just passing, is really not enough. So hard work is really required so that one gets decent marks to be able to be accepted at tertiary for programs that require mathematics. And many times tertiary institutions usually cut the acceptance pass mark way above the minimum requirement. For instance, they put the minimum requirement at 60%, but as they enroll learners, they end up cutting it at 75%. So that's why I'm going to repeat that just passing is not enough. In conclusion, studies show that what makes people good at mathematics is the amount of time and energy they take in practicing getting it right. Ladies, good luck in your subject choices for grade 10. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies. In this video, I'm going to be telling you about Maths Lit. So when you take Maths Lit, it is not the end of the world. You can still go to university with Maths Lit. So mathematics becomes more challenging in the FET phase, which means that marks normally drop. It is then required that a learner who attains less than 50% in mathematics in grade 9 to take mathematical literacy in grade 10. Here are a few of the topics that we do in Maths Lit. So the first big topic is finance. In this, we work with pay as you earn, which is income tax. So you will know how to work out the tax on your pay slip when you get a job. income and expenditure if you want to run a business one day, as well as profit and loss along with it. We also look at the different types of bank accounts, so you will know which one you should open depending on what you need it for, and financial documents. You will know how to read a credit card statement, a bank statement, and even your water and electricity accounts that you receive. Another big topic is measurements. We work with perimeter, area, surface area, and volume, but not the way that you know it. We do not just give you a basic square, we will now put it in a more realistic way, where you'll work out the area of a box or a plan of a house to determine what can fit in that area. We also look at packaging, so how many items can fit into a box, how would you package it, all of that. And then our other three main topics is probability, data handling, and map work. So if you take Maths Lit, like I said, it is not the end of the world. So here are a few courses that you can take at university with Maths Lit. You can do diagnostic radiology and ultrasound. You can do BA Law, BA Fashion Design, Biokinetics, Bachelor of Nursing, BA Interior Design, BA Psychology, Nuclear Medicine, Tourism Management, and Bachelor in Education. Now, these are only a few that I've selected to show you. There are more that you can take at university with mathematical literacy. I've placed a copy of those requirements and the different degrees inside my class in room 25. It can also be found on Google Drive under the grade 9 LO folder, as well as Mrs. Krause. She has a copy, and every maths teacher has one in their class. So please take a look at it so you know if you need maths for your degree one day. I hope that this has shown you that Maths Lit can be taken and that it's not the end of the world, and that you should consider it if need be. Thank you, ladies.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mrs. White, the accounting educator at Springs Girls High. On the screen, you will see the topics that we discussed in accounting during grade 10. Accounting at school is very challenging. Hard work, dedication, and the ability to interpret financial information is required. Learners who choose the subject must intend to further their studies in accounting. Only learners who attain at least 60% in mathematics will be able to cope with the subject. If you are good at mathematics and you are a dedicated learner who is prepared to work hard on a daily basis, accounting is the subject for you. Thank you.
Good day, ladies. Business Studies Grade 10. Business Studies is an academic subject taught in schools and at university levels in many countries. Its subject combines elements of accountancy, finance, marketing, organizational studies, human resource management, and operations. Through Business Studies A level, you'll engage with the world of business through the context of current business developments and real business situations. You learn how management, leadership, and decision-making can improve performance in marketing, operational, financial, and human resources. Now you're looking at top business careers: business development manager, construction management, entrepreneur, general manager, operations manager, product manager, project manager, small business manager, and many more. Thank you.
Here at Springs Girls High School, we are fortunate enough to offer CAT as a subject for our learners to take in grade 10. CAT stands for Computer Applications Technology. And CAT helps learners acquire computer skills. And these are computer skills that help them to find jobs in companies that need people who are able to operate computers. This is particularly useful for learners who are unable to further their education at tertiary institutions. Once they have obtained their grade 12 certificate, they have an advantage when looking for a job. simply because they are computer literate and they are comfortable working with those applications. These skills also improve their performance when they enter tertiary institutions, if they are lucky enough to do so. This is because learners struggle less with the strain of typing formal or written assignments at a university level. It is important to note that CAT does count towards APS, and there are many sources available on the internet that would validate this fact. You can visit this site for more information. There is a long list of jobs where having computer literacy can be extremely beneficial. This can include jobs in the inventory management sector, jobs in accounting and bookkeeping, jobs in publication design and drafting, and jobs that are internet and technology based. You can visit this site for the full list of jobs that use computers if you would like more information. The CAT syllabus covers a practical and theory section. The practical section mostly focuses on Microsoft Office, where learners are introduced to Microsoft Word, which enables them to create professional documents. We also have a look at Excel, which allows learners to analyze data in spreadsheets, and at a later stage, they are introduced to Access, where they analyze data in databases. They also get the opportunity to work with an HTML editor, where they learn basic web design and gain the skills of basic coding of websites using Notepad++. There are many theory concepts that we also cover in CAT. This includes taking a look at the different hardware components that we might use in our everyday lives. It is beneficial for learners to gain the knowledge of these different products because it helps them make better buying decisions in their future. We also take a look at what goes on inside a computer, and this is beneficial because learners are able to problem solve when a computer is giving issues, and they are able to do that because they are aware of what the different components inside a computer are used for. We also take a look at how these different components are connected and how they can work together, and we take a look at computer crimes, which enable them to protect themselves better when working online because they are exposed to different computer viruses and computer criminals, and how to identify and avoid them. And we look at how all of this technology comes together to be beneficial in a working environment, which is of course beneficial to our learners going into the real world, because most of the careers nowadays make use of technology in some form. It is highly recommended that learners taking CAT should have access to a computer at home. This is simply because learners who are able to practice their work at home are able to cope well with the practical content. With that being said, the computer should have a working Microsoft Office suite so that learners are able to actually practice with the programs that we use in class. I look forward to seeing many new learners in my class next year.
Is economics. Economics is a social science. In other words, in the economic context, it will teach you how society uses its limited resources. It deals with the production, the distribution, and the consumption or the purchasing of goods and services, and how they can influence the economy. Now, there's also a lot of focus on the 4 factors of production, and I'm sure this sounds familiar. You've done this in EMS before. The 4 factors of production being land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. These 4 factors of production are seen as the 4 ingredients that make up economic activity in our world and in our country today. Now, economics is split into 2 branches, that is macroeconomics and microeconomics. Now, macroeconomics is the whole economy, the whole national economy, and the decisions for the entire country. An example of this might be in the news, you would hear that they were talking about the interest rates that have increased, or they could mention that in the first quarter of 2021, unemployment rose to 34.4%. Okay, that is an example of macroeconomics in the news. Then the second branch is microeconomics. This is how households and individual businesses reach decisions about purchasing, saving money, and setting prices. And it mainly focuses on individuals. What can I do with economics? Now, first of all, I want to let you know that most BCom degrees, Bachelor of Commerce degrees, have economics as a subject in the degree. So I feel it would be extremely beneficial and a great advantage to have economics at school. It might not be a requirement to enter a university, but having that background would be a huge advantage. What type of careers can you follow with economics? After studying a degree, you could become an economist, a financial, a risk, investment, or data analyst, an accountant, a financial consultant, a banker, stockbroker, or a specialist in international trade. There are various careers. Now, your degree would not be in economics per se, but if you had to do a BCom degree to do accounting, to become an accountant, you would need economics as a subject. What skills and abilities would I need to do economics? Very, very important mathematical aptitude, meaning numeracy is a key skill for economics. Being able to manipulate numbers and data, logical and critical thinking, analyzing data. You have to be an analytical thinker. You need to solve or identify and solve problems. Being curious about what is going on in the news and being aware of commercial and cultural issues. What is happening in the news? Why do you need this information? Because you need to know how certain things influence your economy. How do they influence your country? What is happening internationally and what is happening locally, and what influence that has on the economy and the prices. Lastly, you need to be an independent thinker, and you need to apply your knowledge in every situation and in every scenario. There is a lot of application required in economics. I'm very excited to see Grade 9.
It is with great pleasure that I introduce Grade 10 Geography to everybody and to tell you a little bit about what to expect in this subject. What is important to note is that it is no longer SS, so it doesn't get combined with the history aspect anymore. We focus specifically on geography as a complete subject in grade 10, 11 and 12, and so it is something that is more accessible. You don't have to change your skill set or anything from one concept to another. And what is nice about geography is that it offers the best of two worlds, the science and the humanities. So in terms of earth science, geography looks at the processes involved in things like weather and climate, geomorphology, so how the earth actually scientifically grows, develops, changes, how different weather systems are generated, how they form, all of that. Whereas the humanities side is generally the easier portion of it, and it is something that you can focus on easily, you can study very easily as well. It's things like development of countries, the population growth, settlements, economics of that country or others, comparisons of all of those things, and other things similar to that. So there are very definitely, people always say geography is just humanities, but it really isn't. There's definitely half of the syllabus which is science related. And then obviously there's also the map work portion of it, which is something that requires you to be able to read a map. So it focuses on basic map skills, map reading skills. What is the map telling you? What do the symbols mean? What do the scales mean? All of that type of thing. But then there's also the calculations that have to go with geographical concepts. And the good news is that in geography there are only 5 calculations. So it's not like maths, which are virtually infinite. It is 5 concepts that you learn in grade 10, and those same 5 concepts, those same 5 calculations are done again in grade 11 and in 12. So once you've mastered those, it actually makes it very easy. And then obviously there's also a portion where you have to apply the theory that you have learned. So if it's something along the lines of geomorphology, so if you're looking at mountains or you're looking at rivers or things like that, you have to be able to apply that to a map that you can see. What is important to note is that geography is not an easy subject, but it is a logical one. You can see geography at work around you, whether it be the science part of it, the earth science part, or the humanities aspect of it. You can see how the weather changes. You can see what the world looks like in terms of its topography, the mountains, the rivers, the valleys, all of that. And you can see population growth, you can see what happens in the world in terms of the economics, trade, all of that. So it's something that is very accessible in terms of real life and relevant information. And it is a subject that you can do very well in if you master the basic concepts early on, because everything from grade 10 onwards develops you to the point of grade 12. So we build on each of those concepts. We build on what you know so that you can grow and improve on your understanding of geography. Now, in terms of the careers that geography offers, there are quite a variety. Things that are specifically in the geographical realm are things like meteorology, which is the study of weather. But it's much more than that as well, because it can even go as far as where you become the weather person who tells the weather on TV. So there's that aspect as well, where you can actually be on TV with doing that. There's geology, which is the study of rocks. Geoscience, which is a brand new discipline in geography, and it is very, very interesting. It's also a high-paying job if you get there, and also goes with a GIS specialist, which is GIS is Geographical Information Systems, and these people are those who use things like Google Earth and Google Maps to investigate where companies want to build or where a road is going to be put in. And there aren't a lot of people who do these kind of things, so it is quite an important role, because people will hire you to do an investigation for where they want to build. There's also environmental law, so you can actually go into law and specialize in environmental aspects. There's conservation, and then some of the other things that aren't directly linked to geography but you need geography for are things like if you want to be a pilot or any other aviation career, so a flight attendant, a steward, a ground crew even, all of those people require geography as part of their studies. And then the last one there on the list is the tour operator. So if you want to become a tour guide, a tour operator, create tours, all of that, you are going to need geography as part of that, because obviously you need to know what the world looks like and where you can find things and why they are like that. It's not just about the tourist attractions. And then finally, your pass mark. For geography grade 10 to 12, Sadly, the pass mark is only 30%. Now, as far as I'm concerned, 30% is really quite a dismal mark, because if you know less than 70% of your work, that's really not good. But the reality is that you only need 30% to pass. However, if you do want to take geography further, if you want to do any of these careers that I have mentioned, in virtually all universities, technikons, colleges, they all require you to have 4 subjects, so any of your 4 subjects with 60% or more, and geography has to be one of them if you want to get into any of these subjects or any of these careers that I have listed there, and any career, in fact, that requires geography. So it is obviously important. It doesn't discriminate between maths or maths literacy, but definitely 4 subjects above 60%. So I hope this has helped you a little bit with your decisions. Good luck, and I hope to see some of you doing geography next year, because as far as I'm concerned, there are only 2 kinds of people in the world: those who take geography and those who wish they had. Good luck, everyone.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Grade 9 Subject Choice Information. And I'm here to prepare you for the big world out there with history as your next subject. First thing first, what is history? History is the study of change and development in society over time. The study of history enables us to understand how human actions affected the present and influenced our future, and allows us to evaluate these effects. So history is about learning how to think about the past, which affects the present in a disciplined way. The study of history also supports the citizenship within a democracy by understanding and upholding the values of South Africa's constitution and help other people to understand the same values. Promoting human rights and peace by challenging prejudice that involves race, class, gender, ethnicity, xenophobia, and prepares young people for local, regional, national, continental, and global responsibilities. History has specific aims and skills that are developed through studying history. The specific history aims are to create interest in an enjoyment of the study of the past, knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of the past and the forces that shapes it, and understanding of historical concepts, including historical sources and evidence. And skills developed through studying history are understanding a range of sources of information available for studying the past, extracts and interprets information from the sources, engage critically with issues of heritage and public representation of the past, explain why the different interpretations of historical events and people's actions. By now you should be asking yourself this question: what can I do with history as a subject? The answer is a lot of interesting careers can be chosen, with history being the main subject. But just to name a few of interesting careers, you could be a teacher, secondary school history or social studies, instruct students, prepare course outlines, correct papers, administers and grades tests. Or you could be a lawyer, whereby you conduct criminal or civil lawsuits, draws up legal documents, advise clients as to legal rights, practice other phases of laws. Become an editor or a journalist, whereby you report, write or edit for a newspaper, magazine, radio stations or other media. Historical site specialist, prepares brochures, exhibits, maps, photographs, etc. to stimulate interest in sites. What is the minimum requirement to pass history? 50% would be your minimum pass mark in history. What types of assessments are done in history? In history, we have source-based tasks that allows you to interpret sources and extract information from sources. We also have essay writings, whereby you plan and construct an original argument based on evidence using analytic and interpretative skills.
Life sciences is the study of life at various levels. Life sciences is divided up into 4 knowledge areas. So when you choose life sciences as a subject, these are the 4 areas that we are going to be focusing on. The first area is called life at a molecular, cellular, and tissue level. So that's where we look at the chemistry of life, carbohydrates, amino acids, and lipids, and the building blocks of cells. We're going to look at cells themselves, the organelles, and how they function, and then we're also going to look at different tissues that we find in the human body, like nervous tissue and muscular tissue, and we learn about the anatomy and the functionality of those different parts. Then the other knowledge area is diversity and classification. So in this area or knowledge area, we look at, if we have all these living things, how do we classify them as plants? How do we classify them as fungi? How do we classify them as animals? So we learn about the different kingdoms of classification, phylums, and the different classifications, to see how do we categorize all the different living things. And the third one is life processes in plants and animals. So here we're going to look at the process of photosynthesis, cellular respiration. We look at the human digestive system in detail. We look at the human excretion system in detail and gas exchange. And we learn about how those systems and functions keep all the living things living. And then the last one is environmental studies, where we focus on how our living components in an ecosystem and our non-living components in the ecosystem interact with each other, and how do different communities in an ecosystem of living things interact with each other. And we also look here at the history of life on Earth. So we'll go back and look at the different geological periods and the different fossils and the transition species. So those are the 4 areas that we divide life sciences into. So life sciences is a very interesting subject. If you enjoyed studying for NS, you would probably enjoy studying for life science as well. But there's just a lot of work you need to study for life sciences, and you do need to know that work that you study in a lot of detail. So most people, why they don't like life sciences is because it's so much study work to do. So if you're wondering what kind of degrees can I study if I take life sciences as a subject, we usually look at the science field, so a BSc degree, which is a bachelor's in science, where you specialize in a field that's interesting to you. So if you maybe really find animals interesting, you'll major in zoology, and if you find plants really interesting, you'll major in botany. And if you find human anatomy and physiology very interesting, those would be your majors for your BSc. But you don't actually need life sciences as a school subject to apply for those degrees, but they definitely do help to build the foundation you need when studying that BSc degree. The other 2 that are quite popular as well is medicine and nursing. So for medicine, you do need to have life science as a subject. I do think there might be some universities that would make you do a bridging course in life sciences if you didn't have it at school, but then you would have to have had physical science in school. But it depends on the university. And on this slide, I included the percentages that you would need to get in grade 12 when you matriculate in order to get acceptance into those those degrees. So I chose medicine and nursing because I know those are the two popular ones. And you will see on this slide that the admittance requirement for life sciences for medicine is quite high. It's 75 to 85%. So that's very high. But if you work hard and if you're focused, you could probably reach that target. Then for nursing, you don't necessarily have to have life science, but you must then at least have physical science. Or if you don't have physical science, you must at least have life sciences. And then for that in matric, you must get at least 50% to get admitted into a nursing study program. So if you decide to choose physical science as one of your subjects, here's what you can expect from physical sciences. So physical sciences is divided up into two parts. There's physics and chemistry. So under physics, we focus on things like magnetism and electricity. So that's when we learn about the magnetic fields and the flow of charge, electrical circuits, resistance and potential difference and all of those things. Then mechanics is the focus of the motion of an object. So if an object is moving like a jet that's flying through the air, or a car that's driving, or a person that's driving a bike, we focus on what makes that person move. So things like acceleration, velocity, force, gravity, all of that falls under mechanics, and there's lots of calculations under this section. Then the last topic for physics that we focus on over the 3 years from grade 10 to grade 12 is waves and light. So they will look at how energy moves through a medium, what patterns they follow when they move through those mediums, and there's also a lot of nice little calculations there. So physics is always the popular one when it comes to physical science, because there's lots of calculations and it seems a little bit easier to understand. Then chemistry is the other part of physical sciences. There's only two sections that falls under that. The first section is matter and materials. So under that section we focus on what things are made out of. So we focus on atoms and molecules and ions and what those are. And we learn about the different kinds of bonds between different kinds of substances. So how do molecules bind to each other? How do diatomic atoms bind to each other? And then that's what we learn about in matter and materials. And then with chemical change, we focus on the behavior of the matter that we learn about. So if we have a chemical reaction, how can we predict what products we're going to get, and how can we predict in what ratio we're going to get them? So that one is the more difficult part out of the two, but it is very interesting. So if you do decide to take physical sciences, you need to be the kind of person that is independent, a person that is a self-starter, and a person who's not scared to work hard, because physical sciences as a subject requires a lot of attention, just like maths does. They go together. So if you know you're not scared to work hard, and you're not scared to pick yourself up if you didn't maybe get the result you wanted the first time, if you're willing to work towards the results you want, even though you might have failed the first few times, then physics might be a good fit for you. If you're wondering what kind of degree you can study if you have physical sciences as a subject or matriculate with physical sciences, there's quite a few you can choose from. people that usually study physical sciences in school, they're interested in doing a bachelor's degree in science afterwards, or a BSc. So how a BSc normally would work is you would choose 2 majors that you find interesting. So if you're really interested in botany and zoology, so plants and animals, then you'll do a BSc in botany and zoology. Or if you're really interested in biochemistry and human anatomy, then those would be your 2 majors. So you do biochemistry as your 1 major and anatomy as the other one, and then you do that over 3 years, but then you'll specialize by doing your honors and your masters. The other options that you have, I think the other one that's also quite popular is doing an engineering degree. So there's different ones. There's chemical engineering, there's mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electric engineering. Those ones, you also do need physical sciences to study those degrees. On this slideshow, I included the percentages that you would need to get in matric in order to get admittance to those degrees. So for I chose mechanical engineering here. You would have to get 50% for English, 80% for maths, and 80% for physical sciences, and then they would consider to let you study mechanical engineering. You can also study medicine, so you could study to become a doctor, but on my slide here it says you must get at least between 75 and 85% for physics to do that. The other one that I didn't include is there's different other medical fields as well. So if you want to study optometry, that's another one. You would also need physics and life sciences, or physics, at least physics and maths. Then you can become an optometrist. You would also need to get about 70% average in matric to study that. You can do occupational therapy. There's a lot of options here that you can do with physics, but you must still make quite an effort to get your results good enough when you matriculate.
Good day, grade 9s. This is Mrs. Wells, and I will be doing the tourism presentation for you today. If you are interested in taking tourism, we need to just very quickly look at what is involved in the study of tourism. So we will be looking at activities that tourists can get involved in. We will be looking at the different services that are provided to tourists, like, for example, transport and hospitality services, and many other industries that are linked to the tourism industry as a whole. We'd also have to look at what types of tourists one finds and the reasons that these tourists travel. Now, obviously with tourism, like many other industries, there are economic, social, and environmental impacts as well. Some of these impacts can be negative, but there are many positive impacts too. One of the best and biggest positive impacts that tourism has is that it brings in a lot of money into a country. And if we look at the 4 sectors that tourism is divided into, the 4 main sectors that tourism is divided into, we can see that there are many potential job opportunities, many potential entrepreneurial opportunities, many potential business opportunities, as there are many different aspects that fall under each of these categories. For assessments, you will do tests per term. You will do 2 exams, your June and end year exam, and you will do 2 projects, or as they are now referred to, practical skills assessment tasks. And this is for grade 10, 11, and 12. And we will do the projects in term 1, 2, and 3. In terms of grade 10 tourism, we deal mainly with domestic tourism, which means tourism within the borders of South Africa only. Important topics that we need to look at for grade 10 tourism. You will see a few of these topics will be repeated in grade 11 and grade 12 as we build on from them. I've included just a few examples of some tourist attractions that we can find in South Africa. And South Africa is one of the top tourist attractions in the world because of all of the natural and cultural beauty that our country has to offer. We also have man-made attractions, which are linked to our cultural attractions and cultural diversity, which is also a big reason many tourists come to South Africa. Grade 11 tourism is regional tourism, meaning we deal with tourism within the borders of Southern Africa. So that includes South Africa and our neighboring countries. Important topics there, you will see some repeated, like I said, from grade 10, and we build on there and we move on to grade 12 as well. I've also included a few popular attractions in the Southern African countries, and some of them also are very beautiful natural attractions, and there are also always man-made attractions that we can find too. Like this example in Zanzibar. When we look at grade 12 tourism, we deal with international tourism. That's tourism outside the borders of South Africa. So we go global, we go worldwide, we look at what is happening across the world, how events affect tourism all over the world, and we also look at tourist attractions from all over the world. There are quite a few important topics in grade 12. Again, you will see some that we've already started in grade 10 and we've just built on there, and there are definitely a few new topics there too. Some of the fun topics, even from grade 11, would be your time zones and the calculations, and also foreign exchange and the calculations linked to those. There's also just a few world famous icons that we can find, some man-made ones is this example here in Egypt, the pyramids. In Switzerland, example of natural beauty, the mountains and the beautiful landscape. And then the last example is a combination of both man-made and natural features. The man-made being the windmills and natural being the beautiful scenery and the beautiful flowers.